we go.
All right, well, the hour has arrived, so I will call this meeting of the Public Works Committee to order. We have a quorum, it would appear.
We do have 5 of 6 current members. So we have Bob Lyons, Don Knorr, Dan Ramsey, Carrie Scheffner, and Carl Stumpf present. Gayatri Dinakaran wasn't expected to attend tonight, and I don't see her.
I take it then that Dan, welcome to the committee. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Thanks
Good.
for the welcome.
Did the other alder get appointed as well, or?
From my knowledge, not as of yet.
Correct.
So it should be, the next appointment should be ready by our next meeting.
Okay, well, you're a familiar hand to all of these committee meetings, so I'm sure you'll fit right in here.
I'll try to, thank you.
I don't know if you want to have other people just say hello for just a second, the other committee members, so you can attach a voice and a name to a face.
That would be great. I appreciate
Don,
that.
why don't you start? You're first in line on my screen anyway.
Yeah, this is Don Knorr. Been
Hi,
a member
Don.
For what, 6 years? 6 years.
I think so.
Very good.
Carl?
Carl Stumpf.
Hi, Carl.
Hi.
And Carrie?
Hi, I'm Carrie Scheffner, and I've been on the committee since 2018, and then before that, a couple years. So I'll have to add up all the years, but quite a few
Been a
now.
few.
Yeah.
Thank you all. And so you're probably aware, I'm Dan Ramsey and I'm the District 7 alder.
Okay, well, we can commence our agenda then, the first item of which is minutes of April 11th.
I move we approve.
Have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Carrie.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion regarding the minutes? Hearing none, those in favor of adopting the minutes signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the April 11th minutes are adopted. All right, Sean, our next item of agenda
Sure.
is Middleton Beach Road reconstruction, a request for an exception to driveway width.
Right, and I don't know if our guests here tonight, Diane or Rich, is associated with this or some other agenda item.
No, we are not associated with that. We live in Guard Park and we are interested in the MDC development.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So I had invited the homeowner on Middleton Beach Road to attend. So he has my notes and recommendation. And what this really comes down to, it'll be discussed in 2 parts. It's on tomorrow evening's Plan Commission agenda to talk about the driveway on site. And it's on tonight's Public Works agenda really to talk about the driveway apron, both of which are proposed to be wider than our standard residential width. Many of the driveways up and down Middleton Beach Road are wider than our standard width. I doubt if many of them were really reviewed or approved. I think they were just sort of done for the most part. And in this particular case, there's no particular safety impact associated with having a wider driveway. Normally, we like to keep those compact to reduce the conflict zones with pedestrians on sidewalks and people trying to back out of their driveway. Here, folks mostly are walking on the street because there is no sidewalk, and we're not proposing a sidewalk. So to some degree, I'm sympathetic to the request. Many other driveways are that wide. We've allowed them to remain wide with this reconstruction. The real difference in this case is that for new driveways that come in as part of plan review or for consideration by a committee, the standard maximum residential driveway apron width really is associated with the garage to which it's attached, some of which are 1 car, some of which are 2 cars. And normally we get into the ballpark of 24 feet as being a workable upper limit. Here here the request was for 35 feet. The garage itself is 32 feet. Or maybe it was 29. In any event, I can understand that it pre-existed at something about 32 feet wide, which was used. Maybe it would be helpful if I buzz down to the picture that I pulled out of, so this is what the surveyor saw, just a field of gravel that was slightly wider than the garage and then tapered down to the edge of the road. We're going to move the curb line out quite a bit from where the current road edge was. It'll move out quite a lot. And we had drawn in this proposed apron up to the right-of-way line with the expectation that it would match a driveway that goes to this two-car garage. And the only picture we could find of sort of pre-existing conditions, I just sketched on here a little bit, sort of roughly the edge of the bricks seem to go out to about here. So you can kind of see functionally there was a walkway along the edge of the garage from the residence, separated by a bit of a landscape island. So it kind of served as a two-car driveway plus a walkway, all rolled together into one big wide apron back when. The owner tells me that as he was taking this apart, these bricks actually extended right under this planter area. So from his point of view, this all was just one really big driveway, and somebody functionally just added a planter area in there to separate sort of the driveway use attached to the garage and this walkway use. And he said sometimes they parked an extra car or pickup truck or something there anyway, because it was wide enough to do that. So that's in a nutshell kind of the policy issue. And I think what might make the most sense, since we're doing this a bit out of order, just to keep the homeowner on track with his plans and the road project, I was amenable to taking it to the Public Works Committee to talk about the apron prior to it going to the Plan Commission to talk about the driveway itself. But I think if the committee wants to, I was hoping he'd be here tonight to discuss this, but if the committee's amenable, that you could grant an exception to the maximum standard width for a residential driveway apron if a wider driveway is approved by the Plan Commission.
This would all be done at the homeowner's expense, I presume.
Well, we still would want to build, I'm sorry, if they want to build it all out of brick, and I think he might want to build it all out of concrete, but we typically would follow our assessment policy on that, whereby the city pays half of the cost of a concrete apron. So if he wants to build it all out of brick, what we end up doing is just reimbursing the homeowner for what we would have paid for half of a concrete driveway apron.
So we would pay what, half of what a standard would be then?
Well, the way the previous decision of the Public Works Committee was to allow wider than standard aprons that for pre-existing driveways.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of set it up to say, well, if someone's driveway is 30 feet wide, let's say, we're still paying half of that 30-foot wide apron.
Okay.
So did you hear back from him? Does he intend to continue the planter feature, or is this all going to be paved or bricked or whatever?
Yeah, what I heard is he's not intending to duplicate that feature. He just wants one big wide driveway and apron. So pretty much to duplicate everything that had been brick, but not segregating the use of driveway from walkway.
So
Okay.
Sean, if he wants to put in a 35-foot apron, we would pay half of that 35-foot cost.
That's how I understand. Yeah, we interpreted the rest of the driveways. So I think that would be fair here too. Whether it's pre-existing or brand new, seems pretty much the same. I mean, this is to some degree an issue of timing, right? That he just happened to be under reconstruction and took it all out prior to us surveying this thing. So is becoming new, that's true. But if we had done this road project last year, we wouldn't have even thought twice about it.
I think the wording of the meeting notes that he referred to is pretty interesting. I mean, it basically says it was the consensus of the committee to support removal of tree. Oh, no, I mean, it was the consensus of the committee to support an exception that would allow driveways to exceed the city's standard maximum width since no sidewalk is planned along the east side of Middleton Beach Road. That's basically what it says. So, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not sure it would be real fair to deny this.
Yeah, that was the committee's
Basically,
previous take.
Previous,
Sorry, Carl.
that's right.
Yeah, this was the previous Public Works Committee motion.
And so from us, you just need, you need a decision just on the apron, and then the rest of the driveway will be discussed at planning commission tomorrow.
Yeah, so I was thinking if we kind of phrase it in such a way as to get the Public Works Committee's input, feedback, the Plan Commission can consider that tomorrow. But if Public Works Committee is amenable to it, to say we'll grant an exception for the wider than standard driveway apron if the Plan Commission is okay with a wider than standard drive.
I'd like to move that we recommend to the planning commission that the wider driveway be approved.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second to Carl's motion?
Ramsey will second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we will so recommend to the planning commission.
Okay. Oh, and I see Mark Opitz joined us. So you'll be at the Plan Commission tomorrow, Mark, I take it?
Yes,
All right.
I will. If not, I will pass that on, but I'm planning to be.
Okay, great, thanks. So that gets us up to the Madison Development Corp apartment proposal. And this is really about the TIA, which is abbreviated because it's a pretty small redevelopment, all things considered. So they really only looked at the site and the access. The report notes two recommendations, one of which will be controversial. And the other, I trust, is achievable without too much effort. And they really come down to number one, there's a recommendation. Let me just skim to the end of this. That essentially the site be flipped so that the driveway goes from the east side of the site to the west side of the site. And the other one, that they find a way on site for larger wheelbase vehicles to be able to exit onto Century Avenue without having to back out onto Century Avenue, or at least mitigate that to a large degree. The first of those recommendations, I think, is what will be controversial. And while I don't see the developer with us tonight, I did get from one of their previous emails some bullet points that I think the committee will want to consider. One of those is that the existing trees, and let me get to a drawing here again of that. Okay, so along this west edge of their site are a number of existing trees that they're proposing to try to save. Let me zoom in a little bit for you. Sorry about this. That might make a little bit more sense. So some existing trees along here that they want to try to save. And one of their concerns is if we flip this site and this driveway comes over to this side, it might jeopardize those trees and they'd have to take them out, in which case the windows from this senior living center would be sort of looking out over a parking lot and right at the main entry door, in addition to several other windows, the lowered roof deck and all that stuff, so that from the perspective of some of these residents, their view would be degraded because of loss of those trees. One of the other things that they mentioned is of concern is that the current site layout with the driveway on the east side here makes it easier for these residents to walk over to the grocery store, which is just past this parking lot. Probably pan over, so they could just fairly easily walk over here by just going out their front door. If this site were flipped, you'd have to walk around the building effectively to get over here. So I wanted to pass that along too. As it regards the trees, I do want to point out that's already one of the questions that I had from their newest site plan, is that this row of trees is pretty close to the lot line, but it's planned for fill over the roots. And this will be an excavation with underground parking. So I really expect a lot of root damage with this site development. And I had just asked that they talk with an arborist and hopefully the city forester as well about whether these trees are survivable anyway. If you go out and look at them, they've got quite a canopy spread to them. So they would need a lot of pruning, but I'm not sure the roots are going to make it anyway. And so while that's a concern of the developer that they want to save these trees, I don't know if it's a huge concern. It may not be achievable anyway. So that those things I wanted to pass along, and I'm sure if they were here tonight, they'd pass them along as well. The issue before the committee really is acceptance of the TIA, which was prepared per our guidelines. Whether or not the committee supports the recommendations is a bit of a different question, though related. So I could see the committee considering perhaps approving the report and supporting recommendation number 2, which was about backing out larger wheelbase vehicles, but not endorsing recommendation 1, which would be to flip the site, or to just approve the report, or to approve the report and endorse both recommendations.
If you're likely to lose the trees anyway, you might as well make the parking lot and whatever as safe as you can make it. And that would involve both of the recommendations, it seems to me.
So we've just begun at the Bike and Ped Committee to discuss various different options. And I think, Sean, maybe you've talked to Mark Opitz about some potential plans for University Avenue to put in turn lanes, painted turn lanes.
Yeah, Century Avenue here, right. To convert this 4-lane into a 3-lane, essentially.
Yes. Yep. So if we followed through with that, because that would also allow us to do some other safety things, would this configuration then work okay?
I think it would take care of that problem, because one of the concerns is that folks trying to leave this driveway are going to gauge cars coming from both directions to some degree, but they're going to lose track of cars that are headed eastbound, while looking for more cars that are coming eastbound. And one of their safety concerns is that if this car, say, right, gets to here and starts slowing down, whereas if this driver thought this person was just going to continue eastbound, they might pull out and find themselves in a conflict.
Sure.
The other being that if this car has another car behind it, And this car suddenly starts slowing down because they want to pull into this left turn lane. The car behind them may not expect that, and find themselves in trouble. I'm sorry, if this car is trying to pull into this driveway and the car following is thinking, oh, they're going into the left turn lane, just because those movements are so close to each other. Just going off the page here. That's doing you no good. Just because this left turn is really close to this left turn, that was a concern too of rear end crashes. So, but yes, if this 4-lane turns into 3 lanes sometime, I think we'd be fine, because these folks can duck out into the 2-way left turn lane, and we're no worse off than we were.
And it sounded as though we have to do a TIA for that, but it sounded as though the county was certainly open to that.
That was my take of that too. And I know Mark has been more proactive in touching base with Pam Dunphy, the Assistant Highway Commissioner, on that. But she seemed amenable to it. One of the things I just wanted to find here was the...
She would like us to do a traffic study.
Yeah, so sort of the most recent traffic counts that our consultant pulled out is that in this segment of Century Avenue, we're at about 13,000. East of Donna Drive, about 17. And someplace in there is sort of the practical breakdown where 2 lanes stop working effectively.
Sure.
So I could envision a 3-lane working okay.
So from my perspective, I would just assume, for a number of different reasons, see the building site remain the same, because of the next door, a parking lot looks out to a parking lot. So, and the folks in the retirement home there then would be looking at building. So, and if we went to a 3-lane, it would alleviate the problem and the building could stay the same. So I guess I would like to see us, kind of, for a number of different reasons, move forward with seeing if we can't get this to be 3-lane, in which case we can keep this design this way, which I personally think is a better design.
Yeah, I don't know the timing of when we might be able to get approval to convert a county road, the lanes of a county road. I got the impression from that one person, like from Pam, that it might be okay. I just don't know when that might happen. So we might be living with a risk for some time, that's all.
Who ultimately would do that road construction project? The city, the county?
It would just be paint.
Yeah, if it's just paint, I think the county would be happy to defer to us. Or maybe they would help because they have a painting rig. But they might need it seal coated or something first, sort of to clear out the existing striping. The only other way to do it is to grind it, really.
Can it be done with just paint, or does it have to be physically widened?
I don't envision anybody taking on curb line moves here, but the goal would be that then we could add bike lanes, 2 travel lanes, and a 2-way left turn lane, all within the existing curbs. If that makes sense. Now, the bike lanes wouldn't continue forever, of course, because at Donna Drive, we'd lose that. But, it would be it would be.
We'd have them up to High Road where then a kid could bike up to the school. So yeah, there certainly is I think a pretty large public benefit.
And we might get it all the way to Century Avenue, which already has bike. Across Parmenter Street, which already has bike lanes.
All right, committee, what's your pleasure?
Bob, if you don't mind, I see that Diane and Rich have their hand up. I know sometimes you can't see that very effectively.
All right. Well, you are recognized. What is it you would like to add?
Yes, hi, my name is Rich Kay, and I am a resident at Guard Park. We have lived here for 9 years, and frequently, obviously, are entering and exiting off of Century Avenue. I'm just having a little bit of difficulty understanding what the issue is going to be with keeping the entrance into this apartment on the eastern side. I understand that you have a short distance between that driveway and what would be the turn lane for Pick and Save. But in our experience here of 9 years is that we've rarely encountered any difficulty using that left turn lane. So I guess what I'm wondering is, because you've got the Sikh temple and you've got people frequently making a left turn to go into the Sikh temple, then you've got the senior housing building, which does not get much traffic. And then you would have the apartments, and then you would have Pick and Save. Would it be possible, at least in the short term, before you went to a 3-lane, to just extend the left lane as a turn lane further back, so that people are really clear that that left lane going eastbound is for turns, for that quarter of a mile or so? That would encompass the Sikh temple, the adult living facility, the new apartment building, and then Pick and Save.
Yeah, I think one
Thank
of
you.
the, sure,
Thank you.
it's a good question. And I think one of the practical limitations is the pavement width. So here, the pavement was actually widened to create this left turn lane. If we wanted a left turn lane to extend westerly, we'd have to move over the sidewalk and the curb and widen pavement to create room for that, which was why, Mark came up with the idea, well, maybe what we should do is, instead of having 4 lanes, have 2 lanes and one of those 2-way left turn lanes. People used to call them suicide lanes, if that rings a bell. And then we'd have room for bike lanes besides, without widening the road at all. It would just be reallocating space on the road. But to create a 5th lane would take more room.
Sean, I don't think he's talking a 5th lane. I think he's just talking utilizing that inside lane as a left turn lane. If you go on Gammon Road, the city of Madison does that, near that, when they change from 4 lanes down to 3 or 2, they get rid of that center lane and make it a left turn lane only. They merge people that are going through traffic to the right. I think talking about.
Sure.
So that becomes a mandatory turn into an intersection, really. And it effectively takes 2 lanes and tells almost everybody, you better get in the right lane if you want to continue using this road. I mean, it's all but converting a 4-lane road to a 3-lane road anyway.
Correct.
Just doing it in a sort of goofy way. So what we wouldn't do is put in a continuous left turn lane here. We might as well then put in a 2-way left turn lane and let people duck out of westbound traffic if they want to use one of these drive lanes. You know what I mean?
Well, I still see a hand up from our visitors. Do you have anything else you wish to add?
That is basically what I was saying. I was thinking that possibly you could take that eastbound left lane and just maybe, for that quarter of a mile or stretch or whatever, just make that a left turn only lane to accommodate from the Sikh temple, the 4 left turns that would be between Sikh temple and Pick and Save. And again, I mean, in our experience, I've never experienced a problem on that stretch of road making a left turn. I understand what the issue is and what the concern is, but I mean, having lived here, it just has not been an issue. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, and I think it's a fair point. We don't know that that's going to be a problem. It just has the look like this is the kind of thing that would be likely to cause a problem. When a sort of significant left turn movement is really close to the beginning of a left turn lane.
Well, it doesn't seem practical to have everybody merging right way back at the Sikh temple if you've got a left turn only lane all the way up to the pick and save turn in.
Yeah, and I don't know where people would choose then to sort of enter into the left turn lane. You know.
Sean, could you go over the second recommendation one more time too?
Sure. The second recommendation was for larger wheelbase vehicles like a garbage truck or recycling truck or kind of a long UPS van to be able to turn around someplace somehow on site so that they don't have to back out into Century Avenue when they leave.
So that would mean the elimination of some parking places in all likelihood, wouldn't it?
Potentially, yeah. Or it might be that a couple stalls are specially signed for loading zone or deliveries only or something, so nobody parks there. That might allow them.
I did not see anything on that site plan that would indicate a dumpster location or anything.
I didn't either. I'm assuming it's in the basement, the underground parking, probably. I don't know that. Do you happen to know, Mark, since you're here, where their dumpsters are?
I'm looking it up in the materials that were submitted.
Oh, thanks. Okay.
It'll be a minute or two.
Yeah, I have their submittal for the SIP, but I'm afraid if I start rolling it up and down my screen, everyone will get dizzy.
Yeah, I've been accused of that too.
Justly, I might add.
Pardon me?
I said justly, I might add.
That's fair. That's fair.
We'll all get vertigo and call it a night.
And Sean, while he's looking that up, where are they proposing, how far, they said make the driveway further west? What was the other one?
The only practical way to do it without really wrecking the site plan would be to take the site and flip it. So this driveway would go here but then the, parking lot would be sort of here and the main entrance would be here.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so I have an answer for the dumpster.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that I just wanted to make sure I understood everything.
Well, the funny thing is I was just pointing and I realized you're not seeing what I'm seeing. So basically, if you follow the driveway, pretend you're going into the garage. So yeah, right there, keep going. And then it's just above the hand, just north of the hand is where that corner is where the dumpster is located inside the garage.
In here or in here? I'm sorry, let me zoom in a bit. This is crazy for anyone without a giant TV.
So it looks to me like there's a structure. It looks to me like the grid, the patio or whatever that is. I think there's structure under that as well. I think there's, from what I can see on the site plan, that's part of there's parking under that. So I think the foundation wall is actually on the perimeter of that. I think they call it a patio or a deck.
Okay.
So yeah, where your hand is essentially where the dumpster is.
Here. So if they pull in nose first, that's easy, but still they can't turn around here.
I mean, the question is, can a vehicle like that open the garage door and poke their nose in? And I suspect that would be a problem too, just because aren't those dump trucks usually pretty, or not dump truck, you know what I mean, the waste hauling trucks.
Pretty
Aren't those
high.
usually, they're pretty high, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how tall a door they're putting in. But if they're putting a dumpster in, they better be able to get a garbage truck to it, or they're, it's gonna be tough.
I'm looking for an indication of that too, but
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
anyway, that's fine. I don't know that we have to solve it tonight, but if the committee is supportive of not having folks back out onto Century Avenue, we'll at least ask them to provide some kind of turnaround.
I think they have to provide a turnaround. Sean, let me ask a question though. But couldn't even if the driveway was moved farther to the west, couldn't it curve into the parking lot at roughly the same place it is now and have this detention pond move over to the east, I guess that is a ways, so that it curved around and got there, and then you could move the driveway to the west. And maybe there would be some room in there that you could make a turnaround also. Because that's going to be a very cumbersome thing if a garbage or recycling truck has to go nose first all the way down to that garage entry and then back all the way out and back out onto Century Avenue. That's not going to work well at all.
Yeah, I think too, it's asking a lot. I don't know that we could meaningfully move this driveway west without affecting the building, which goes all the way down here. And it would make a real mess of this parking lot to do that.
Well, they've got some stuff to figure out then.
A little. I think there's got to be an answer to that. That seems like a problem.
Okay, are we looking for a motion, Bob?
I think so, unless people have further discussion they wish to have on this.
Do you want to do this in parts? I mean, I think that the TIA is approvable. So do you want to should we deal, I'll make a motion to approve the TIA.
All right, is there a second to that motion?
And just to be clear, that's without the recommendations. We're going to deal with those separately.
Just the report without
Recommendations
any
are part of the
advocacy.
TIA. It's a separate issue.
Okay.
So Carrie, was that a second from you?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the TIA. Any discussion on that? The TIA does contain those two recommendations though, correct? Are
It
you?
does, but if the committee doesn't endorse one through a separate motion, you can say, but we don't endorse this recommendation, even
Okay.
though we understand why it's made.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that motion is approved. Now we have to deal with the other aspect of it.
Well, let's take the easy one. I make a motion that we recommend that ensuring that the site plan has a turnaround for larger vehicles.
All right, second to that motion.
Don, I'll say,
All right, we have a motion and a second on that subject. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that motion has been approved. And now what are we going to do about the entryway? Well, it seems to me we have to do something about it because the TIA has approved, has the recommendation to move the entryway to the west. And if we're going to do something different than that, then I think we have to state that, don't we, Sean?
I think it would be the best guidance for the developer and plan commission and common council. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll make a motion that that the recommendation in the report to move, that we don't follow that guidance, to move the driveway as far as west as possible, but leave it as designed.
All right, is there a
Can-
second to Carrie's motion?
Just for my clarification, so you're making a motion that the committee not endorse the recommendation to shift the driveway west?
Right.
Okay.
And could I add that there's maybe other options evaluated or something? I guess I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I'll just leave it as that.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fair. And if they come up with something really different, we'll bring it back.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on that subject. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. I'm going to be a nay on that, Sean. I think the driveway ought to move west, but
Okay.
that'll be our recommendation in any event.
Sure. And no one else was opposed?
I don't believe so.
Okay, I may have picked up a weird echo. So, okay, thanks.
Okay,
I think that's it for that issue. Next up was the surface treatment program award of bid. Ooh, let me zoom this down just a bit. Okay, so we could go to the bid tab if you want, but Sean Ellsrud put out and opened up bids, and we got pretty favorable pricing. Considering some of the other pricing we've been seeing, asphalt has been holding pretty good. And so Farner Asphalt turned in the lower of the bids at $176,263, which is less than our allocated budget amount of $250 for what we were hoping to do. And I think staff would like to recommend that the committee not only recommend award of the bid to the Finance Committee and Common Council, but also to see if they'll endorse increasing the scope of work to maximize how much treatment we can put on roads and parking lots within the $250,000 allocation.
I think that's an excellent idea. Can I ask a question, Sean? When you say chip sealing, that's the traditional chip sealing. Are we doing any more of those treatments like we did on a couple of roads a few years ago, or we're still evaluating how that's working?
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on the microsurfacing. It costs about twice as much as chip sealing. So we want to be pretty sure that there's a real benefit to it before we spend that kind of money.
Okay, so we can do another $24,000, give or take, of chip sealing.
Well, it gets closer to 75 really to get
73.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, 75. Okay. All right, does everybody understand where we are on that, or do you want to look at the bids?
Isn't Farner the one that we've been using the last couple of years, Sean?
Yes. Yep. Scott
I'll make a
Construction
motion
typically
we,
has done that, and they turned
I'll
in a
make a
bid
motion that
this
we
year.
approve it with the benefit of adding additional areas to cover the excess.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second to Don's motion?
This is Carrie. I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the chip sealing bid? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we will so recommend to the council. Okay,
Next up, Dave Sarbacher's here. He's our water utility manager and sewer too, for that matter. And so we've got a couple of water utility issues. One is the sanitary survey report, which we get every 3 years. So we haven't seen one of these since 2019, whereby the state goes through our system, our operations, and sees if there are any ways that we either need to improve or should improve They didn't find any deficiencies that we need to take care of. They made a couple of recommendations for us, and they offered some recommendations of things that we can take a look at, which we'll intend to do when we get into either reconstruction or significant rehabilitation of a couple of features. But I'll leave the floor open for any questions of Dave. He's prepared a response that we're then prepared to send back to DNR. And I forgot right offhand the due date, but do you remember when that is, Dave, that it's due?
Somewhere in there, I thought it said May 27th.
Oh, yeah, May 27th.
Yeah, later in May, yep.
Okay. Well, I would just offer the comment to congratulate Dave on the operation of the utility. There were a lot of very favorable comments from the DNR in there, and I think that speaks highly of our water utility.
In particular, our utility foreman, Ryan Madigan, yes.
Oh, yeah, good point, Dave. I agree. Yeah, really nice
He's the
job.
one that does the day-to-day maintenance and makes sure that things like this are getting taken care of on a regular basis.
Well, he's done a good job.
Thank you.
So we've had, it's a pretty short response, but it says what Sean just said, I guess, that as things come up construction-wise, we can fix some of those non-conforming items, and we'll just keep plugging away at it. Anybody got any additions or edits that they would like to make to what Dave is proposing as a response?
I was wondering about the two recommendations. Do we need to respond to that at all in any way, or how does that work?
It does briefly in the response that if we make those changes, like Sean said, that they will be brought up to compliance with the, future major reconstruction or new construction.
Yeah, so we have some emergency power, and it seems like, well, they're saying, well, we really could use more emergency power, and of course that's true.
In particular, at one of the reservoirs.
So I don't know, Dave, you might have a just off the cuff handle on whether that's more efficient as a standalone project or the next time we're doing a well rehab project.
That would probably be the time to do it with a well rehab and roll it into a maintenance issue like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty much just to pump water out of one of our two reservoirs is what this is recommending. Independent of anything else.
And do you know, was security mostly cybersecurity or physical plant security?
Cyber in particular, it kind of has Windows, multi-factor authentications, passwords, those types of things. And IT is working on that with Ryan to make that, with all the other things that cybersecurity has been throwing at IT lately. This is also one that they're looking at. So
Yeah.
and
I know
working
this
on it to make it more secure.
Seems every other week I open an email from the DNR about cybersecurity, so they're on it.
Okay, that was more my question, because I was like, I didn't understand, like, I figured the number one, or, in terms of the security, we would address before like a project, that would be implemented. But I think that's where I was confused. So that's good to know that we're addressing like updating the operating system and using, password recommendations and such.
Yes, and that is an ongoing work in progress. And we are working with IT to make that a more secure system. And it is quite secure right now, but there's always tweaks to the system and they're working on those.
Well, that's good, because a lot can go wrong in a hurry with that.
And I was wondering, so in the letter, does DNR, would they like to see some kind of note about that particular recommendation and how we're addressing that? Or I'm not sure if they'll ask for more information about how we're planning to, implement recommendations.
Yeah, in that particular, I guess I don't have that written out, but I can make note of it that IT is working with the utility to improve our security and something along that line.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Sure.
Add a sentence to that effect to the letter? Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying, Carrie?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
All right. Any other suggestions? Somebody wish to offer a motion to make that edit to the letter and then authorize Dave to forward it to the DNR?
I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Is Carl, I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And Dave, again, congratulations on a good report here, and you can proceed to send the letter with that one little edit.
I shall, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then the last thing is also water utility related, which is our annual consumer confidence report, water quality report. And so we put that out every year, of course. And we have a requirement that this go out by July 1st. But it gives an update to folks of where we've been and where we are with, testing of various constituents in water.
I would move that we approve the report for distribution.
Is there a second to Dan's motion?
Is Carl, I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we can prepare this to go out, I guess, with the next round of utility bills. Is that?
Yep.
how it will go?
That'll do.
That is correct. It will go out with the next bill.
Okay. Very good. Again, thank you, Dave.
Yep, thank you.
I think that brings us to the magic moment.
Already.
Does carry a motion to adjourn?
We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. We stand adjourned then. Thank you all. We'll see
Thank
you
you very
in a couple
much.
weeks.
Thank you.
Night.
That wasn't too painful.